Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is the big man Boisterous coming to you with some Silver League Studliness out of Belshire Beach. Down here in the bottom right hand corner of the map we have PikaPrime spawning in as the red Protoss, and up here in the top left we have his opponent Mface spawning in as the pink Zerg. As this game starts off, I would just like to announce that I'm extremely excited because this will be my first over 15-minute upload on YouTube. And you guys won't have to deal with those, multi-part series of games, or 2 parts and 3 parts, because everybody knows those are annoying. I might go back and splice those all together at some point. I'm not sure. I would probably have to recast most of them because I'm not saving fraps files on my computers. But yeah, very exciting. I can record more now and not worry about overpassing that 15-minute timeline that I have to put on myself. We do have Mface. God, that's why it was slow. I had it normal, not faster. Whoops. Anyway, we have Mface going for the extractor and the extractor trick, so he's now at 11 out of 10 food, and he hasn't started an overlord yet. Typically you want to start the overlord as soon as you get that 100 minerals after that extractor trick, because otherwise you're still behind in workers. It doesn't really matter that you extractor tricked. We do have the probe coming into scout. This is a fairly early scout and fairly elaborate scout. He's really just wanting to get all the information, but it looks like that drone just wants to stop him. So we do have the scout scouting even above here in case he was hiding tech. Okay, well, anyway, we have PikaPrime going for a fairly well-timed gateway. Surprised we haven't seen the spawning pool yet, and there is the spawning pool going down for Mface, and we do have the pylon block setting itself up at the natural. Oof, it's pretty nasty. Getting pylon blocked is always just so annoying, because you have to wait for your spawning pool to finish, then you have to wait for 2 Zerglings to come out, and then you have to wait for the 2 Zerglings to deal 200 damage or 400 damage to the pylon. We do have his drone coming out to start doing that damage, and really that's well worth the 100 minerals that the Protoss player has to spend on it. Is just laying down this pylon, because it either forces the Zerg to be super aggressive, and honestly holding off super aggressive Zergs as Protoss is fairly easy, just because all you really need to do, especially on a map like this where you have right here, you just need to force field off this wall and make sure that his army doesn't get through, and basically you'll win the game just by proxy, because then you can sit there and you can tech up and you can get those void rays out, you can get those colossi out, and you can just I know it'll take a while off of one base, but he will not be able to penetrate through that really, especially if he's being super aggressive. And then as soon as he takes out this pylon, you'll know that he's going for an expansion and that you can expand yourself. But that's not what Mface is doing. It looks like he is going to be going for a natural anyway, as those 2 Zerglings pop out, and this drone, yep, there we go. Alright, was that pylon even blocking? That would have been hilarious if that pylon wasn't even blocking the natural. I think it was. I'm just not sure anymore, because he laid that down with surprising ease, not even close to where the pylon was. We do have the queen coming out. She's ready to larva inject when this thing comes up. And the other queen is in production, but is not going to be able to larva inject this hatchery, so we are going to have a couple of cycles of larva that are missed right here. So that gives a slight advantage to the Protoss player so early in the game, but it's not really anything major. We have the robotics bay or facility coming up, and we have just this typical zealot wall in happening. And yeah, nothing all that interesting coming out yet. This robotics facility is fairly soon, honestly. Typically you see people go for like 2 gates or 3 gates and then a robo, not a gateway, a robo, and then 2 gates. So that's kind of interesting, because most people want to have all of their gateways up by the time this warp gate finishes, so that they can just start producing units off of that warp gate ASAP. And really start getting their gateway ball numbers up, because that's something you kind of need in the late game against Zerg, because otherwise, because Zerg have such good counters to end game tech that come out of Protoss, but they don't have such amazing counters to like the early game tech, especially when it's mixed with the late game tech. So if you have like a Stalker Colossus ball, Mutalisks would be able to quite easily kill Colossus with a tiny bit of Stalker. However, once you get it to a status where, it's just this giant death ball of Stalkers in Colossus, it can't be countered by Mutalisks anymore. And that's kind of just what I'm talking about with this, is that, Zerg Mutalisks, extremely good against Colossus and small number of Stalkers, so you want that large number of Stalkers that you get by getting these gateways out earlier. And we do actually have a Warp Prism out. That's interesting. I did not see Warp Prism play coming out of this game, but it looks like roaches are already started at Mface's base. So yeah, I don't think that this Warp Prism play is really going to do anything at all, especially because I think he just flew it right over the head of the Zergling. So I think he knows it's on the way, and he is making more roaches to reflect that. So we are going to see quite a few roaches out here ready to deflect any possible damage that could absolutely ever come out of this Warp Prism play. Actually, Protoss is not producing units right now. I think he's trying to save up for this Warp Prism, but he just needs to be making army, to be honest. That's one of the more important things as a Protoss player, is to make sure that you're using your Warp Gate cycles, because otherwise the Zerg will just severely outnumber you by the time you get to any of those late game any of those late game fights. And we do have 3 Zealots coming in. I would not have suggested the Zealot in this engagement. I would have suggested Stalkers, but I don't think he saw the Roach one yet. And is he gonna get the pool? Getting the pool is pretty big against the Zerg player, and it looks like he stops focusing it. He is going to get quite a few drones if we bring up the workers killed. He got 4 drones, so not exactly worth it, but not awful at the same time. But I don't know. They're both banking so much money. The only real difference is that the Zerg has a natural, and he actually has kind of an army. Whereas the Protoss player is just starting his natural now, and he just doesn't have any units out on the map at all. So I think he really needs to start going for those units. I mean, he's getting a lot of production, but it won't matter if he's not using his production to make units. We have this robotics facility that's just sitting here. I mean, it could be pumping out immortals right now. He saw the roaches. He knows roaches are there. So he could easily be going for some sort of immortal play, but he's just focusing so hard and doing as much damage as he possibly can with these Warp Prism drops that he's not really focusing on macro at all. And the Zerg player is pretty macro minded, because Warp Prism drops aren't that hard to deal with. So we do have like this just massive amount of drones that are just sitting here, and he still has more income than his opponent, I do believe. This Nexus did just pop up, so we are going to be able to see something start coming out for the Protoss player as far as economy goes, but it's just gonna be so late. I'm not sure if this is gonna be like a too little too late scenario, because he's still at 36 food versus 67. That is a huge food lead at the start of the game. Mface, it looks like his supply blocked. I'm not quite sure how that happened. He's doing very nice on his larva injects, so I think he only missed like a couple at the start of the game when he sent his queen out really early. We do have the Hydralisks coming in. That's probably to fend off any sort of Warp Prism drops, because he can kill stuff when it's warping in, but he really wants to just kill the Warp Prism so that he can move out. We do have, wow, actually that is a lot of Zealots warping in, but with proper micro, it should be absolutely no issue for him to do it, for him to do absolutely no damage. He might get the extractor, and it looks like he will get the extractor, but that's the extent of the damage that is going to be done here. And yeah, this is kind of just being crushed for PikaPrime right now. Mface is just absolutely destroying every attempt he makes at harassing. He's going for 3rd, so that's going to be pretty nice for our Zerg player. And it looks like this 3rd isn't going to get up. It looks like the Warp Prism is going to see it, and it will have no issue killing, hopefully, this hatchery. It looks like he actually canceled the 5th Zealot, and that might have been the deciding Zealot, to be honest. Oh no, he just cancels the hatch. He's fine. So it looks like Mface is getting contained on 2 bases right now, but it doesn't really matter because PikaPrime isn't exactly expanding himself. They're both. How do you have this 3,000 resources banked this early in the game? The Protoss has a lot of gas banked, so I think he should be going for some sort of Colossus play, Carrier play, Mothership play. I don't care. Just get the highest tier tech unit out. maybe even High Templar, to be honest. High Templar works, reasonably against Roach Hydra, especially on a map like this where the Roach Hydra ball is gonna have to be like squeezing through little tiny choke points, kind of like these, where it's gonna be kind of compact, and then you can just blow them up there. But he just needs to do something, to be honest. Really anything, and he'll be fine. Because he just has so much gas, where he just needs to get some sort of high-tech unit out. There's no other reason to have that much gas. You need some high-tech unit. He just has a lot of gateways right now, to be honest, and he's not really using them efficiently. He's kind of using them really a lot to try to do this weird drop harass kind of play, and it's not working out for him, I would say. We do have +1 missiles attack coming out for a Zerg player, so his roaches are going to be that much more effective. We do have a zealot drop happening in the back. I don't think it's going to do essentially anything. It might get a couple of drone kills now. It's way too focused on the queen, and all 4 zealots are going to go down quite easily. Yeah, this is not. I don't know. I don't think this is looking good for our Protoss player currently, just because he has no army. He has absolutely no army. He's doing all these weird kind of drop harassy things, but he's not actually building an army. He doesn't have a forge up. He's getting Twilight Council now, so he is going to start going for some sort of upgrades. But his 3rd does get scouted, and that's pretty bad for him, because now the Zerg will be able to quite easily just do some sort of Zergling run by, and it looks like that's what he's preparing for, because he's making, maybe just 1 pair of Zerglings. Looks like 3 pairs of Zerglings. So he might be able to do some sort of Zergling run by play sometime in the future, and this thing has 19 larvae attached to it. That is a lot of larvae. I think you should just honestly make all those larvae into Zerglings and just run down here and kill the Nexus. Just target down the Nexus and run away. Because keeping a Protoss on 2 bases while you're on 2 bases isn't the worst scenario, especially if he's just so freaking dedicated to this Warp Prism play that he's not really, seeing the fact that he could probably kill you. He probably could have killed him before this hatchery went up, because this is just such an amazing SimCity on this map, where it'll be extremely hard for a Twilight Council ball to really get through this, especially forcing off against a Roach Hydra ball. Just because a lot of players that go for Twilight Councils are very zealot heavy. They usually go for charge first, and then they get extremely heavy zealots, especially in the Silver League level of games. We do have a Dark Shrine coming up for PikaPrime, so this is interesting, and we do have charge going out. So it looks like there is going to be a pretty heavy zealot Archon maybe combination. Honestly, guys, I'm gonna say it right now. If you're gonna go for Zealot Archon, get High Templar, because then you are spending both forms of your money quite efficiently, instead of spending like all of your minerals and then having this giant stockpile of gas. Because High Templar only costs 50 minerals and 150 gas, and Zealots only cost 100 minerals. So every time that you spawn in, this set of units, you're spawning in 150 minerals and 150 gas worth of units. It's quite balanced. And I know that your income isn't quite perfectly that, so you're going to have less Archons than you are going to have anything else. And it looks like we did have a Ling run by that didn't really do anything. I don't think it might have stalled some mining, but it was nothing all that important, to be honest. We do have roaches popping up out of everywhere. Drones actually droning up quite heavily right now. I'm surprised he's droning up that heavily, to be honest. We do have another 3rd coming up, but DTs are in the main, or well, not really the main, but the natural. I think he should have gone for the main, to be honest. Gone for the main, just taken out some very important tech structures. But right now he's actually doing quite a bit of economic damage. He's up to 19 workers killed. That's pretty big. That's a fairly large amount of workers. He does manage to snipe off yet another queen. He's going to get a few Hydras before all these DTs go down, at least. And there we go. Quite a few units lost there for Zerg. A pretty big victory for Protoss, to be honest. And is he going to manage to bring in some more DTs? That is a lot of DTs. Oh, he shouldn't have canceled them. He should just let all those DTs go through, because honestly, if he got all those DTs up, he could have probably cleaned up the Zerg's army. Because DTs, even if you see them, they still hit you in the face pretty freaking hard. And if you have like 7 DTs, that's going to be hitting you in the face pretty hard. We do have this platoon of zealots going up to the top half of the map. It's not going to do that much, because again, this Sim City is absolutely magnificently beautiful. So these zealots are just going to kind of get stopped right here, and they're going to get surface area on like 3 or 4 roaches, and it's just not going to be enough, especially considering the fact that roaches are 1-1, zealots are 0-0. So he really needs to get those forges out and start upgrading those zealots, because if you're going for a zealot Archon Ball or even just like zealot DT for some reason, the forge upgrades are fantastic on zealots. We do have the Dark Templar again warping out, getting ready to move on out. And these DTs, I have a feeling, are going to go and take out this third. It looks like that's where they are heading, at least just based on their trajectory. We do have a lot of Zerglings coming up, actually, so I think he might be preparing for some sort of Ling run by right now. This is, 48. That's 52 Zerglings, I do believe. Unless my counting's way off. We do have a 4th coming up for our Protoss player, and this is like, he's doing quite well at stopping the Zerg from doing anything economically. And here come the Zerglings, and they're going to face off against quite a large Zealot army in the middle of the map, and the Zealots are just going to absolutely be able to clean them up. But the Zerglings do decide to just run on by. So they are going to do quite a bit of damage to at least this worker line. I'm surprised they're not going for the Nexus, to be honest. If they were going for the Nexus, that would just be so much more effective for them. And this is the issue when you don't really wall off in between bases, is that like this giant Zergling army can just hop from one base to the next base to the next base, and they will have absolutely no issues. I think he needs to start warping in that Zealot at the right there in the middle, and all of these probes. Oh, the probes! They need to be fighting. Fight for your lives, probes. And yeah, we have more Zealots warping in, but again, he just doesn't have any upgrades, and that is his major issue at the moment. He needs those upgrades to do anything for him. I think he could like warp in some DTs up here and literally just snipe off the Spire and the Roach for him. I don't think his opponent would be able to do anything about it. We do have a lot of Zealots coming up here, just making sure that the third base isn't up. PikaPrime is doing better at getting his units out, but he still doesn't have that big of a unit that big of an army out, to be honest. Let's check supply. Never mind. Apparently, I don't know the supply hotkey. It is. All right, there we go. So his army supply is at 54 compared to his opponent's 93. That's pretty far behind. I mean, he has a lot more workers, because he has 62 workers to 29 workers, so that's a pretty heavy worker advantage. However, he needs more army. That's really what he needs. He's going to go try to plant a Nexus on the guy's hatchery, so it's just like, whoops. My bad, Mr. Hatchery. So it looks like all these Zerglings are going to be running into the main again, doing as much damage to these probes as they can, and they're actually doing quite a bit of damage, to be honest. It looks like the Zealot is going to be there to wall it off, and all these Zerglings are just running over to here to do all the damage that they can do. I'm still surprised that they're not trying to snipe off the Nexus, because I think they could quite easily snipe off the Nexus. They have +2 armor, actually, so that's pretty heavy upgrades, and it looks like these Zealots are going to need even heavier upgrades to the point where they can two-shot those, to get to the point where they can two-shot the Zerglings. And yeah, this just looks so heavily in Zerg's favor. Like, you can sit there and you can say, no, the Zerg's got this, or the Protoss has got this. He has more bases, but the issue is that he doesn't have army. I mean, yet again, it's 100 to 62 army supply. He has no army. He needs some sort of heavy hitter unit to go with his army, because really Zerg's one of the few, like, Zerg's kind of the only race that can build this Roach Hydra ball and have it be extremely effective against Protoss units. Protoss really needs some sort of heavy hitting unit. They need the High Templar, they need the Archon, they need the Colossus. that their army is like sitting under, and that it's doing most of the damage for the army, because I don't think that they have quite the synergy that, you know, Roach Hydra has, where the Roaches are just tanking all the damage and the Hydras are just dealing all the damage, because Hydras just do so much damage to any sort of Protoss Gateway composition, where it makes this kind of Zealot Stalker play almost obsolete. And yeah, this is not looking good for our Protoss, excuse me, player, as he's just going to get absolutely cleaned up right here. And yeah, this is just looking quite nasty, as this DT is trying to do what he can to save the homeworld, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. He's going to snipe off quite a few Hydras, actually, because he can just, you know, run around and two-shot them. But again, it's just so much is going down on the side of our Protoss player right now. He just lost his 4th. He still has a very small army compared to his opponent. Now it's 24 to 110, and that's just kind of the supply differential where the game's over. You don't come back from a 24 to 110 supply differential and win it. He just has way too much army, and no matter how you look at it, and even though upgrades are now evening up, he almost has his 2-2 done to compared to the 2-2 of his opponent, but it's still just ridiculously in Zerg's favor, I believe, at this point of the game. Protoss, again, I just think he needed that army early on. He shouldn't have gone for such heavy Warp Prism play. As soon as the first Warp Prism got rejected, he just should have gone like, damn, gotten like some sort of DTs out. Not even that early, gotten like later DTs, gone for High Templars first, and then gone for DTs. And then actually, you know, harassed with DTs instead of going for that kind of odd harassment with Warp Prisms. Just continued harassment with Warp Prisms that didn't really do any damage, to be honest. I don't think he killed, what, like 4 workers with those total until he got the DTs out, and now, you know, he's killed a reasonable amount of workers. The Zerg actually took the lead, though, because he didn't have an army, he didn't have a wall, he didn't have cannons. It was just kind of nasty and almost pretty sloppy for our Protoss player, what he did with those Warp Prisms, because he was just very, very engaged in this idea that I am doing Warp Prisms, I want more Warp Prisms. So, you know, he got 2 Warp Prisms and he was trying to harass with them, and it just honestly wasn't effective at all. And now we see the Zerg player just, you know, maxing out, making sure that he has +3 missile attack, and then he's just going to attack and he's just going to win the game. And it looks like he's actually getting ready for that 1A movement right now. Never mind, he's just going to go stop the zealot drop from doing anything. And we do have 36 Zerglings coming in. I think that when those pop, it's going to be his time to go attack and win the game. We do have the 4th right here. The 3rd is again getting stopped by this Overlord, just spewing creep all over it. So yeah, this is not looking good for a Protoss player. I'm not sure how you're supposed to come back from this, to be honest, because again, let's just look at army supply real fast. Again, it's 16 to 150. The game's over. So as you know, this final easily death push presses against the map, presses across the map, man, ugh. I would just like to remind you all to go to Boisterous SC2 at youtube.com and subscribe, because the more subscribers I get, there's going to be some fun events going on in the near future if you guys cannot get enough subscribers for them. Also, you can head on over, you can send in any games you want me to commentate into boisteroussc2 at gmail.com. And yeah, this is pretty nasty for PikaPrime, as this army just pushes in and absolutely demolishes him. So again, you know, if you go for that Warp Prism drop, you can't commit to it that hard. You need army against the Zerg player. Anyway, you can also go to the my Battle.net forum thread, and just suggest any subscriber events that you think would be a good idea. And I'm accepting really any ideas right now. I'm at least looking through them. So it's going to be, I don't actually have the list in front of me. I can't remember what the current events are. However, head on over there, post your ideas, post your comments, post your concerns, post what you think I'm doing good or bad or whatever, and I'm currently trying to work on my worst skill sets. But anyway, guys, this is Boisterous signing out.